What I received on my birthday was, unexpectedly, a letter of divorce. His Highness says Miss Shen is jealous and unvirtuous, unfit to be the mistress of the prince's manor. In consideration of your 5-year relationship, you are permitted to leave on your own. The old butler's voice trembled, and he could barely speak properly. 5 years for Murong Heng. I shed all my sharpness, willingly becoming the gentle and obedient princess and behind him. Who in the capital doesn't know that Princess Anne, Shen Ruye, is gentle and virtuous, and deeply devoted to Prince Anne, Murong Heng. I managed the princely manor for him, paid filial respects to the dowager consort in the palace for him, navigated the circles of royal sisters-in-law and noble ladies for him, and even used the power behind me to secretly eliminate his political enemies for him. But what I got was just the 4 words jealous and unvirtuous, and this letter of divorce. Outside the window, snowflakes were fluttering. A cold wind drilled in through the window cracks. The candlelight flickered unsteadily. I sat before the dressing table, the bronze mirror reflecting a pale face, a plain robe wearing on my head, only that white jade hairpin he gave me. I let out a soft laugh, the sound of my laughter echoing in the empty room, unspeakably desolate. Jealous, yes, I am jealous. I am jealous of that woman named Bai Schwanger, jealous that she can make him disregard all ethics and morals to keep her as a hidden mistress, jealous that she can make him forget that today is my birthday, and also our 5th wedding anniversary. Please make sure you are in a comfortable position. The main story is about to start. In the comments section, reply and tell us which city you are all reading our story from. Uncle Fu, get up. This has nothing to do with you. My voice was very calm, so calm that even I found it unfamiliar. Where is His Highness? Uncle Fu trembled even more violently. His Highness is at Tingyu Xuan. Tingyu Xuan, that was the residence he had set up for Bai Schwanger outside the city. What an elegant name, listening to the rain and gazing at the moon, being all lovey-dovey. I stood up, my bones making a creaking sound. I poured myself a glass of wine, the daughter's red I had brought from my parents' home 5 years ago, that we agreed we would drink when our first child was born. But 5 years have passed, and there has been no movement from my belly. The imperial physician said my body is cold and it is hard for me to conceive. I desperately drank those deathly bitter medicinal soups. Yet he repeatedly slept in the study, or in that woman's bed. I walked up to Uncle Fu holding my wine cup, took the letter of divorce from his hand, and read it through carefully. Very good. Murong Heng wasn't even willing to give me the word wife, only writing Shen Shiyue. I poured the wine on the letter of divorce and said, word by word, tell His Highness, Shen Ruye accepts the decree. From now on, I have nothing more to do with the Prince Anne's manor, and with Murong Heng. After I finished speaking, I pulled the white jade hairpin from my hair and casually tossed it on the ground. The hairpin shattered into several pieces like my shattered heart. I didn't pack anything. Everything in this prince's manor was either a gift from him or something I bought to please him, and not a single thing truly belonged to me. My personal maid, Chun Lan, had long since cried herself into a mess of tears, helping me walk outside. The servants of the prince's manor were kneeling all over the ground, their gazes complicated, some with sympathy, some with pity, and some gloating. Walking to the main gate of the manor, the wind and snow grew stronger, the icy snowflakes hitting my face like a knife's cut. I tilted my head up, letting the snowflakes fall on my face and melt into cold water. 5 years a joke, I once thought. If I just gave it my all, I could warm his heart of stone. I was wrong, his heart isn't a stone. It is ice. An ice that only forms toward me while for another person it can melt into spring water. A blue cloth carriage was stopped at the alley entrance. Chunlin helped me on, lowered the carriage curtain, shutting out everything behind me. Miss, where are we going? Chunlin handed over a hand warmer, the rims of her eyes still red. I slowly opened my eyes, the vulnerability in them gone, replaced by an ice-quenched coldness. Back to Yunjin Pavilion. My voice held none of the princess consort's gentleness anymore, only stark resolve. Relay my order, activate the Winterfrost plan. I want Prince Anne's manor this winter to be colder than the snow outside." Excitement flashed through Chunlan's eyes, and she immediately said respectfully, "Yes, Pavilion Master." The carriage started, rolling over the thick snow, heading in the opposite direction of Prince Anne's manor. Goodbye, Murong-heng. No, it is goodbye forever. From today onwards, there is no longer a princess in Shen Ruye. In this world, only the master of the Cloud Brocade Pavilion, Shen Ruye. The woman who once cooked for you and retracted all her claws is dead. The one who survived is me, the one who will make you regret everything. Number. Chapter 2. Master of the Cloud Brocade Pavilion. The Cloud Brocade Pavilion is the capital's largest intelligence organization, and also the wealthiest merchant guild in the world. From the South's tea and silk to the North's horses and mineral salt, 70% of all business in the world is related to the Cloud Brocade Pavilion. It is just that the world only knows the Cloud Brocade Pavilion is mysterious. But they don't know that its master is the abandoned consort they mock for being childless and jealous. Shen Ruye. This is the family business my mother left me. Back then, I insisted on marrying Murong-heng, who was just a down-and-out prince at the time, and my mother was so angry she almost disowned me. She said that royal men are the most heartless, and that I would regret it. I didn't believe her. I thought my brother Heng was different. To marry him, I handed over the Cloud Brocade Pavilion to my trusted confidants to manage, put on a mask of gentleness and virtue, and hid all my sharp edges, just to put him at ease and make him think I was just a weak woman who needed his protection. I didn't even dare to get pregnant. It wasn't that I couldn't, but that I didn't dare. I was afraid that if I had a child, my identity and the power behind me would be exposed, arousing the fear of this suspicious prince. The so-called cold constitution was just a medicine my confidant prepared for me. I thought sacrifice could win true love. Now it seems, it was just a one-sided joke. Returning to the Cloud Brocade Pavilion's headquarters in the capital, I changed out of that humiliating plain robe and put on the black brocade robe belonging to the pavilion master, embroidered with intricate cloud patterns in gold thread. Mysterious and powerful. Chunlan, no, I should call her Yongshui. She is one of my 4 most capable protectors. The other 3, Yunfeng, Yunlei, and Yunting, were already waiting in the main hall, pavilion master. The 4 of them knelt on one knee, their voices filled with suppressed fury. I walked to the main seat and sat down, picking up the hot tea Yongshui had served. All of you rise, pavilion master. Murong-heng has gone too far. This subordinate number will lead men to storm the Prince of Pingan's residence tonight. The hot-tempered Yunli number root. I glanced at him faintly. Killing him would be letting him off too easy. I want him to watch helplessly as everything he owns turns to nothing, and I want him to kneel before me and beg for my forgiveness. My gaze swept over them. Is the cold winter plan clear to everyone? Understood. Yunfeng took a step forward. He is my military advisor. We have, according to the plan, completely withdrawn all commercial trade related to Prince Anne's fiefdom. Within 3 days, the prices of grain, cloth, and salt in his fiefdom will triple. All the mines and shops under his name will completely shut down within half a month due to various accidents. The people we've planted in his army will also begin to stir up the soldiers' sentiments. After all, they're about to run out of money for provisions and pay. I nodded in satisfaction. Very good, Yunting. How is the investigation on Bai Shuanger's background going? Yunting handed over a secret scroll, Pavilion Master, as you expected. This Bai Shuanger is not at all a helpless and lonely orphan girl. She is the illegitimate daughter of Zhao Qian, the Vice Minister of the Ministry of Revenue. Zhao Qian is the Crown Prince's man. Bai Shuanger's approach to Murong-heng was instructed by the Crown Prince. The purpose is to drive a wedge between you and Murong-heng, and at the same time steal intelligence on Prince Anne and plant a chess piece by his side. I unrolled the secret scroll, looking at the evidence recorded on it of Bai Shuanger's secret dealings with number. You, the corners of my mouth curled into a cold arc. Crown Prince Murong Rusi. I softly murmured this name. My dear husband's eldest imperial brother has always seen him as a thorn in his side. Murong-heng still thinks he has found a soulmate. Little does he know he has let a wolf into the house. I handed the secret scroll to young Shui. Make a few copies of this. Accidentally deliver one to the Emperor's imperial desk and one to the Empress. As for the rest, let those noble ladies in the capital who love to gossip all hear a little bit about the rumors of Bai Shuang'er's background. I want everyone to know that Prince An, Mirong Heng, cast aside his deeply affectionate and devoted first wife for a spy sent by the Crown Prince. I want him to become the biggest laughingstock in the whole world. Yes, Yun Lei. I looked at him. Your subordinate is here. I want you to take some men to Tingyu Xuan. My voice grew increasingly cold. I don't want that house to still be standing when the sun rises tomorrow. A bloodthirsty light gleamed in Yun Lei's eyes. Pavilion master, you mean? A fire, burn it to the ground, I said lightly. As for the people inside, if they run fast, they can count themselves lucky. If they run slow, I paused. Picked up the teacup, looking at my own cold reflection in the tea. Then let it be a funeral offering for my 5 years of youth. This subordinate understands. After everyone withdrew, I was the only one left in the vast hall. I walked to the window and pushed it open. The snow outside had lightened up a bit. Mirong Heng, did you think you were just abandoning a wife who loved you to the bone? You will soon find out. What you pushed away with your own hands was the entire world that could have been yours for the taking. The game has begun. Number. Chapter 3. The burning of Tingyu Pavilion. Inside Tingyu Pavilion, Mirong Heng dismissed all the servants and personally cooked a bowl of ginger soup for Bai Shuang'er. Shuang'er, drink this to warm yourself up. He passed the soup bowl to her, his eyes full of doting affection. Bai Shuang'er was wearing a pure white fur coat, her face pale with tear stains still at the corners of her eyes. A truly pitiable sight. Your Highness, it is all my fault. If it weren't for me, you and Sister Wangfei wouldn't have. Don't mention that woman again. Mirong Heng's expression instantly turned cold. It was her who was jealous and wicked, unable to tolerate you. What does it have to do with you? I've long had enough of that eternally prim and proper fake appearance of hers. It is suffocating just looking at it. Unlike you, Shuang'er, you are the one who is lively and real. Bai Shuang'er timidly glanced at him, lowered her head and said in a small voice, But the princess consort has been with you for 5 years after all, and today is her birthday. 5 years, Mirong Heng sneered. For 5 years she has been like a wooden puppet, always with that same expression, saying all those high-sounding words. If I so much as touch her, she acts like she has been spooked. What is the point of being husband and wife like this? I gave her the honor of a princess consort, yet she can't even produce a single heir. Now I am giving her a letter of divorce, letting her leave with dignity, which is already me being as benevolent as I can be. He held Bai Shuang'er's hand and said softly, Shuang'er, rest assured. From now on, the mistress of this Prince An's residence will only be you. After some time I will marry you in a grand 8-bearer sedan chair. A flash of secret delight crossed Bai Shuang'er's eyes, but her face still showed gratitude and apprehension. Your Highness, I don't need any title, I just want to be by your side. Her sensible appearance made Mirong Heng's heart ache for her even more. He pulled her into his embrace, feeling a sense of satisfaction he had never felt before. This was a feeling he had never experienced with Shen Ruye, and he felt that he had finally broken free from his shackles and found true love. Just as the two were deep in their affectionate moment, a commotion and the gleam of fire suddenly came from outside. Fire, the fire's too big, quick, put it out. Mirong Heng's expression changed, and he immediately rushed out. He saw that the entire Tingyu Pavilion had somehow been engulfed in a sea of fire, with flames licking the sky and thick smoke billowing. In the dead of winter, the weather was dry and things were flammable, so the fire spread extremely fast and was impossible to extinguish. Shuang'er. He hurriedly turned back and pulled the terrified Bai Shuang'er, whose face had turned pale with fright, out of the room. Just as the two of them ran out the door, the roof beam behind them collapsed with a crash, and the entire main house was instantly devoured by the great fire. Mirong Heng stared at this sea of fire, his face ashen. This was definitely not an accident. Tingyu Pavilion is heavily guarded. How could such a big fire start for no reason? Who is it? Who did it? Shen Ruyue's overly calm face flashed through his mind. It is her. How dare she? A surge of rage rushed straight to the top of his head. That woman who had always been so meek and submissive actually dared to use such methods to get revenge on him. Your Highness, I am so scared. Bai Shuanger trembled in his arms. Murong Heng suppressed the rage in his heart and comforted her. Don't be afraid. I am here. He held Bai Shuanger, looking at the residence that was burned to ruins, his eyes sinister and vicious. Shen Ruyue, you are very good. Did you think burning my residence would let you vent your anger? You just wait. I won't let you have it easy. However, Murong Heng didn't know. This was only the beginning. Number. Chapter 4. Court turbulence at the morning. Court session the next day. Prince An, Murong Heng, submitted a memorial, impeaching the Ministry of Revenue for withholding the winter grain for his fiefdom, causing the people's resentment to boil over. His political enemies, the faction led by the Crown Prince, immediately stepped out to refute, saying that the prices in Prince Anne's fiefdom were skyrocketing, which was clearly due to his own poor governance, and that he intended to extort the imperial court. While the two sides were arguing incessantly, Censor Zhang of the Censorate suddenly stepped out from the ranks and presented a memorial. Your Majesty, this subject has a report to present. This subject recently received a report that His Highness Prince An is of poor moral character. For a woman of unknown identity, he went so far as to divorce his legal wife on her birthday. This woman's name is Bai Shuanger, and it is rumored that she is the illegitimate daughter of Number, you and the Vice Minister of Revenue, Zhao Qian. This woman approached Prince An with impure motives and is feared to be a spy. I earnestly request your Majesty to investigate thoroughly. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire court was in an uproar. The Crown Prince's face instantly turned pale, and the Vice Minister of Revenue, Zhao Qian's legs went so weak that he almost fell to his knees. The Emperor on the Dragon Throne's expression instantly turned so grim it could drip water. What he detested most was princes using such methods to scheme against each other. Murong Heng. The Emperor's voice was filled with anger. What Imperial Censor Zhang has reported, is it true? Murong Heng's mind went blank. Bai Shuanger is the Crown Prince's person? A spy? Impossible. Bai Shuanger is so innocent and kind. How could she possibly be a spy? Father Emperor, your son. He wanted to refute it but didn't know where to begin. He had indeed divorced Shen Ruyue for Bai Shuanger. Your Majesty, this subject is wronged. Zhao Qian was already kneeling on the ground, kowtowing like he was pounding garlic. Bai Shuanger has no relation to this subject whatsoever. This is slander, a frame-up, Your Majesty. The Emperor looked at him coldly. Oh, then you tell me, why did my secret guards find out that half a month ago, at a cloth shop in the west of the city, you secretly met with a woman named Bai Shuanger, and it seems you were even talking about matters concerning Prince Anne's estate? Zhao Qian's face instantly turned ashen. The Emperor's gaze then turned to Murong Heng, utterly disappointed. For a woman like that, you divorced your own princess consort? Don't you know? Shen Ruyue's mother saved the late Empress's life back then, and I personally promised to ensure her daughter would have a smooth and peaceful life. Is this how you treat her? You've utterly disgraced me and disgraced the entire royal family. Guards, drag Zhao Qian away, throw him into the imperial prison, and thoroughly investigate his accomplices. Crown Prince Murong Rui is confined to the Eastern Palace for 3 months to reflect on his wrongdoings behind closed doors. Prince An, Murong Heng, for failing to manage his fiefdom effectively and for lax household discipline, is fined 1 year's salary and is to get the hell back to his fiefdom to reflect. Immediately, without my decree, you are forbidden to return to the capital. Following the Emperor's string of decrees, the entire imperial court fell deathly silent. Murong Heng knelt on the ground, utterly devastated, his mind buzzing. Bai Shuanger was a spy. His imperial father was furious. He was being sent back to his fiefdom. Everything had spiraled completely out of control overnight. He suddenly remembered the calm look in Shen Ruyue's eyes when he divorced her yesterday. That wasn't resignation. It was mockery. She had known all along. She was just watching him make a fool of himself. A bone-deep chill shot up from the soles of his feet straight to his heart. He felt as if he had done something extremely serious. Number. Chapter 5, advancing with caution. When I heard the news from the imperial court, I was trimming a pot of clivia. Yunfeng described everything vividly, and at the end couldn't help but laugh. Pavilion master, this killing 3 birds with 1 stone move of yours is truly brilliant. You not only neutralized the pawn Bai Shuanger, but also dealt a blow to the crown prince on the side, and even caused Murong Heng to be loathed by the emperor. Now it is spread all over the capital saying that Prince N, for a woman sent from an enemy camp, divorced his virtuous and noble princess consort, and is simply blinded by lust and foolish beyond measure. I snipped off a withered yellow leaf and said lightly, "This is just the beginning. I am going to utterly ruin him, make him realize that everything he is so proud of can't withstand a single blow in my eyes." Pavilion master Murong Heng has already set off for his fief. Should we, on the road? Yunlei made a throat-slitting gesture. No need. I shook my head. Let him go back. A good show is more fun when it is staged where he is at his most wretched. Murong Heng's fief Jingzhou is already my domain by now. He is not returning to his own territory, but walking into a cage I've carefully prepared for him. Also, I instructed young Shui, spread the word, just say that the former Princess Anne, Shen Ruye, in her despair, has already committed suicide by throwing herself into a river on her way back to her hometown. Yun Shui was taken aback. Pavilion master, why is that? If I am to make Murong Heng regret, I must first make him believe he has lost me forever. The corners of my mouth held a cruel smile. I want him to taste what heart-piercing, bone-chilling pain is. I want him, filled with this guilt and agony, to watch with his own eyes how his foundations are uprooted by me inch by inch. The news spread quickly. Prince Anne was driven back to his fiefdom, and that pitiful former princess consort had already passed away. All at once, everyone in the capital sympathized with Shen Ruya, and was full of disdain and condemnation for Murong Heng and Bai Shuanger. Bai Shuanger, in particular, became a homewrecker everyone was clamoring to beat, hiding in Prince Anne's mansion, not even daring to step out the door. Meanwhile, Murong Heng was wretchedly traveling on the road back to his fiefdom. Shen Ruya was dead, committed suicide by drowning. When he heard this news, he was sitting in a bumpy carriage, still clutching that secret report investigating Bai Shuanger's background. Every single word on it was like a sharp knife, stabbing him until he was riddled with wounds. So it turned out Bai Shuanger's meeting with him was fake. Bai Shuanger's adoration for him was fake. Everything about Bai Shuanger was fake. For the sake of such a scam, he abandoned the woman who had genuinely treated him well for 5 years, and that woman in the most resolute way ended her own life, and also completely ended everything between them. BFFT, a mouthful of fresh blood sprayed from Murong Heng's mouth, dyeing the secret report in his hand red. His heart felt as if it were being viciously gripped by an invisible giant hand, hurting so much that he couldn't breathe. He recalled Shen Ruya's good qualities. She would always, when he was tired, quietly bring him a bowl of hot soup. She would always, when he encountered difficulties with government affairs, seemingly casually offer a few pointers, but it would always lead him to a sudden epiphany. She always managed the prince's mansion in perfect order, leaving him without the slightest worry. He had always taken it for granted. He even found her annoying, found her meddlesome, and found her not gentle and tender enough. It wasn't until he lost her that he had a sudden realization what he had lost was the most precious thing in this world. Ruyu, he murmured to himself, tears sliding down uncontrollably. This was the first time he had shed tears for that woman. He hated Bai Shuanger's deception, hated the crown prince's insidious nature, but what he hated most was his own stupidity and blindness. Turn around, back to the capital, he roared at the coachman. I want to go to her grave. I want to find her. Even if it is just a cold corpse, I have to find her. However, the captain of the guards refused with a cold face. Your Highness, the imperial decree is hard to disobey. His Majesty has decreed. You must return to your fiefdom immediately. Get lost. Murong Heng drew his sword, pointing it at his own guards. I said, back to the capital. The captain of the guards didn't move, just said calmly, Your Highness, you can't go back. The shadow guards are following right behind us. Murong Heng felt as if all the strength had been drained from his body and collapsed back into the carriage. That is right, he couldn't go back. His imperial father was utterly disappointed in him. The crown prince saw him as a thorn in his side. He was now a stray dog. He could only watch helplessly as he walked step by step towards the hell he himself had created. And I had long ago in Jingzhou laid an inescapable trap for him. Jingzhou nightmare. Half a month later, Murong Heng's convoy finally arrived at Jingzhou City. What greeted him was not a crowd of welcoming commoners lining the streets, but dilapidated streets and faces filled with numbness and despair. The entire Jingzhou City was dead and silent, like a ghost town. What is going on here? Murong Heng roared at the prefect of Jingzhou. Before I left the capital, wasn't Jingzhou still thriving and prosperous? The prefect, his head covered in sweat, knelt on the ground trembling like a sieve. Prince, this subordinate doesn't know either. It started half a month ago. The prices in the city skyrocketed. It is as if all the trade routes were cut off. We can't do anything either. Murong Heng kicked him away, the ominous premonition in his heart growing stronger and stronger. Half a month ago, that was the day he divorced. Shen Ruyi, is all of this related to her? No, impossible. She is already dead. Could it be the people behind her? Murong Heng suddenly remembered that Shen Ruyi's maternal family was the immensely wealthy Shen family of Jiangnan. But the Shen family had already declined as early as 10 years ago. How could a declined merchant family have such great power to paralyze his fiefdom within just half a month? He couldn't figure it out. He wanted to requisition grain, but found that the grain merchants had all been bought out at a high price by a mysterious person, leaving no grain to requisition. He wanted to reopen the mines, but found that all the artisans had been poached at a high price by a mysterious Yunjin Pavilion. He wanted to appease the army, but found that the military pay had long been cut off. The soldiers were full of grievances, and there had even been small-scale mutinies. He was overwhelmed, unable to find peace day or night. Every deep night, he would dream of Shen Ruyi, dreamed of her in a red dress, marrying him with a smile as bright as a flower, dreamed of her toiling for him, her temples touched by wind and frost, dreamed of the despairing look in her eyes as she threw herself into the river. He woke up startled from his dreams time and time again, then hugged his quilt and cried like a child. He regretted it. He really regretted it. He was willing to trade everything he had to get her back. As long as she could return, he would do anything. He began frantically sending people to search for Shen Ruyi's body. He wanted to see her if she was alive, and her corpse if she was dead. But the people he sent out were like stones sinking into the ocean, disappearing without a trace. He vented all his anger on Baishuanger, locking her in the courtyard and ignoring her completely. The woman who once bewitched him was now, in his eyes, filthier than anything. Just as Murong Heng was deserted by everyone and on the verge of collapse, a piece of news reached his ears: the master of the mysterious Yunjin Pavilion, a merchant guild whose wealth could rival a nation's, would personally visit Jingzhou to negotiate a deal that could save Jingzhou's entire economy. For Murong Heng, this was undoubtedly his last lifeline. He didn't hesitate to set aside his status as a prince, and personally wrote a formal request for a visit, hoping to meet this mysterious pavilion master. 3 days later, he received a reply: the master of Yunjin Pavilion agreed to meet him, and the location was at Wangjiang Tower, the largest restaurant in Jingzhou. That day, Murong Heng put on his formal princely court attire, hoping to make a good impression. He didn't know who the other person was, whether they were male or female, old or young. All he knew was that this was his only chance. He went up to the top floor of Wangjiang Tower alone. The entire top floor had been booked out. He walked to the folding screen, cupped his hands and said, "This prince, Murong Heng, requests to see the master of Yunjin Pavilion." From behind the screen came a cold and familiar voice. "Murong Heng, do you know your crime?" Boom! Murong Heng was as if struck by lightning. He jerked his head up, staring deadly at that screen. This voice is trembling. He walked step by step around the screen. Behind the screen, a woman in a black brocade robe had her back to him, standing by the window, gazing at the river view outside. Her figure was so familiar it was carved into his bones and blood. Ruya. His voice was trembling uncontrollably. He could hardly believe his own eyes. The woman slowly turned around. That face was still the one from his memory, yet completely different. Her former gentleness and submissiveness had vanished completely, replaced by an icy majesty and an indifference that controlled everything. Her gaze was like she was looking at a stranger, or even at an ant. "You are not dead," Mirong Heng was ecstatic. He rushed forward, wanting to hug her like before. However, before he could even get close, he was stopped by two guards who suddenly appeared, a cold blade placed against his neck. Insolent. Suwon faintly uttered two words. The guards withdrew their swords but still stood in front of her. "Ruye, you are not dead. That is great, you are not dead." Mirong Heng was so excited he was speaking incoherently. "I knew you wouldn't be so heartless as to leave me. Come back with me, okay? We'll start over. I'll treat you well from now on. I'll never let you be wronged again." He was eagerly pouring his heart out, but all he got in return was a scornful sneer from Shen Ruye. "Start over?" She looked as if she'd heard the funniest joke in the world. "Mirong Heng, what makes you think I would still come back? Look clearly." She pointed to the desolate Jingzhou city outside the window. "This is the price for abandoning me. The economic lifeline of your fiefdom, your army's provisions, the hearts of your subjects. All of it is within my grasp. I want you to live, you can live. I want you to die, you won't live past tomorrow." Mirong Heng's face turned ghastly pale, bit by bit. He finally understood Shen Ruya's maternal family hadn't declined at all. That mysterious Yunjin Pavilion was hers. He had always thought he married a weak wife who needed his protection, but he never expected that he had married the master of the world who could command the clouds and rain. The boons he thought he was bestowing upon her were nothing but a joke in her eyes. Her so-called woman's benevolence was actually the imperial path she had paved for him, and he, with his own hands, destroyed this path. "Why?" he muttered to himself in a daze. "Why did you never tell me?" "Tell you," Shen Ruye smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. "Tell you that I am as rich as a nation, that I hold the world's intelligence network in my hands, so that you'd fear me, be suspicious of me, and even kill me to seize power. I've loved you for 5 years, and I've studied you for 5 years too. Your arrogance, your suspicious nature, your heartlessness, I know them better than anyone. I once naively thought that if I hid everything and was just an ordinary wife, I could win your true heart in return." Her gaze turned incredibly cold, every word like a knife stabbing into Mirong Heng's heart. "But I was wrong. I once wanted to bring you the entire world, yet you despised my hands for being stained with dust. Now I hold this world in my own hands, so what the hell are you?" BFFT, another mouthful of fresh blood spurted out, and Mirong Heng could no longer support himself, collapsing weakly to his knees. He lost, was utterly defeated. What he lost was not just his empire, but even more so, the woman whose heart and eyes were once filled with only him. "Shen Ruye." He lifted his head, his face covered in blood and tears, and said abjectly, "I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please forgive me, okay? I'll do whatever you want. I am even willing to be your dog. I am begging you. Don't leave me." That once high and mighty Prince Anne is now kneeling on the ground, crying like an abandoned child, with absolutely no dignity to speak of. However, I just looked down on him, my gaze not wavering in the slightest. "It is too late," I said. "Mirong Heng, from the moment you handed over that letter of divorce, you had already lost the right to ask for my forgiveness." I turned around, no longer looking at him. "Throw him out. Tell everyone in Jingzhou, from this day forth the Cloud Brocade Pavilion will fully take over Jingzhou. Those who wish to follow me will be well fed and well clothed. Those who remain stubbornly defiant will be killed without mercy." "Yes, Pavilion Master." Behind me came Mirong Heng's heart, wrenching cries and pleas, but I didn't turn back, not even once. Walking out of Wangjiang Tower, the sunlight outside was just right. I took a deep breath. The air no longer held that oppressive scent of Prince Anne's manor, only the fragrance of freedom. Number. Chapter 7. The dust settles later. I heard that Murong Heng had gone mad. He spent all day wearing soaking wet clothes, wandering by the river in Jingzhou, repeatedly shouting, "Ruye, don't jump!" telling everyone he met that he had wronged his wife. Bai Shuanger's end was even more miserable. After Murong Heng went mad, she was dragged out by angry soldiers, beaten to death with clubs, and nobody even collected her corpse. As for Crown Prince Murong Rui, he was implicated in Zhao Qian's case. The evidence was conclusive, so he was deposed by the emperor and confined until his death. The entire political situation of the court was reshuffled because of my intervention. I supported the most inconspicuous, yet most talented and virtuous prince to take the throne. After he ascended, grateful for my help, he named me the Grand Princess Protector of the nation, a position of unparalleled status. I never saw Murong Heng again. To me, he was like that white jade hairpin I shattered with my own hands. Even if someone tried to glue it back together, the cracks would always be there. I don't want things with cracks, whether they are hairpins or men. On a winter day with snow drifting down just the same, I stood at the highest point of the imperial palace, overlooking this vast land that belonged to me. Yun Shui draped a fiery red fox fur cloak over me from behind. "Pavilion master, it is getting cold." I smiled and took the hand warmer she offered. "Yes, it is another winter. It is just that this winter, my heart will never be cold again." End of full text. Number epilogue. Many years later, a legend circulated among the common people. The legend tells of a mysterious woman who was once the abandoned consort of a certain prince, yet single-handedly stirred up the court, supported an enlightened monarch to the throne, and ultimately became the all-powerful Grand Princess Protector of the nation. People say she never talks about the past and never marries. Every year on her birthday, she would always sit alone in the Tingyu Pavilion, listening to the sound of the rain outside the window and drink a cup of newer hong. That was the only tenderness she left for herself. Samanon once asked her, "Your Highness, the eldest princess, have you ever had any regrets?" She smiled without a word, just gently stroking the white jade hairpin in her hand that had already been glued back together. The cracks on the hairpin were faintly visible. Just like the scars on her heart, they reminded her that some things, once broken, can never go back. But she didn't regret it, because it was precisely these cracks that transformed her from a canary trapped in a cage into a phoenix, soaring through the 9 heavens. She finally understood that love was never a woman's everything, and the man for whom she once poured out her heart and soul was nothing more than a trial in her life's journey. Now the trial was complete. She had long since achieved nirvana and rebirth. Outside the window, the snow stopped, and sunlight streamed in, shining on her and coating her in a layer of golden brilliance. She stood up, gently placed the white jade hairpin into a box, and locked it. Then, without looking back, she walked towards the vast world outside the window. From then on, the sky was high and the sea was wide, and there were no more shackles. The end.